They laughed when I said I was tired from work. My mother rolled her eyes. Jason raised his glass. Tired from what? Googling stock tips all day. The table burst into laughter like it was a game. Like mocking me was tradition. Like I wasn't. Sitting right there. I held my fork steady. Smiled. Swallowed my silence the way I had since I was a teenager. I looked at my father. He didn't defend me. He never did. Just chewed slowly, staring at his plate, as if his son's voice didn't grate against the truth. Jason loved these lunches. They were his arena. A safe space where he was the star, and I was the warm-up act. Vanessa's probably still living. Off ramen and ideas, he joked. Let me know if you need a loan, sis. More laughter. I felt my ears burn. My mother tapped her wine glass and sighed. She's just sensitive. Always has been. I told you, you need to put yourself out there. More, dear. You can't hide behind spreadsheets forever. She said it like concern. It was a dismissal wrapped in sugar. I looked down at my hands. Perfect nails. Tailored blouse. I ran a firm managing over $50 million in assets, but they still saw the girl who brought home science fair trophies they never came to see. To them, I was the disappointment who never asked for much, and then I heard the chair scrape back. Mr. Aldridge stood at the end of the table. Calm. Intentional. Dressed in gray, holding a leather briefcase he hadn't touched all afternoon. The laughter softened. My father didn't look up. My mother blinked. Jason raised a brow. Miss Cole, the lawyer said, with a tone so sharp it sliced the air. Are you ready for me to proceed? He didn't look at them. He looked at me. Respectfully. Formally. Like I mattered. I nodded once. Yes, ma'am, he replied. Jason laughed nervously. Wait, what's going on? My mother's face twisted. Thomas, what is this? My father said nothing. Mr. Aldridge opened the case. Pulled out a thick folder. As requested by your father, I'm here to finalize and read the updated estate delegation and power of attorney documentation. He placed it on the table like a verdict, and just like that, the entire table went quiet. I was always the quiet one. The easy child. Not because I didn't feel things, but because I learned early that expressing them got me nowhere. If I cried, they called me dramatic. If I succeeded, they called me lucky. I stopped performing. For applause that never came. Jason was loud from birth. Messy. Charismatic. He broke vases and got nicknamed Free Spirit. I brought home straight A's and got, that's expected of you. At first, I thought if I just kept proving myself, they'd eventually see me. They didn't. My mother adored Jason like he was a prince. Called him my sunshine boy. She said he had the energy of a leader. She called me practical, plain. Asked why I didn't smile more. Said I should wear brighter colors if I ever wanted a husband. My father was harder to read. Stoic. Business-minded. He cared about results, not feelings. When Jason flunked out of college and burned through his first startup fund, my father gave him another $100,000. When I opened my investment firm quietly, he didn't even ask the name. Holidays were a stage. Jason told exaggerated stories. Everyone laughed. I refilled drinks and cleared dishes. At my own graduation dinner, my mom forgot the cake. When I reminded her, she said, "It's just cake. Be grateful we even did something." I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I built in silence. Studied finance at night while working 2 jobs. Grew my firm from 1 client to over 40. I paid off my student loans in full. Bought my own apartment. Still, they saw me as background. Jason failed upward. Dated influencers. Posted selfies from trips Dad funded. When I got featured in a finance magazine, my mother texted, "Just saw your article. Try to smile more next time." Not congrats. Just correction. Still, I went to every family event. I showed up. I listened. I hoped. And every time I did, they handed me another small betrayal dressed as tradition. So when my father asked for a private lunch 6 months ago, I expected criticism. Instead, he asked about my company. For the first time. He had questions, serious ones. Projections, staffing, legal risk. I answered them all. 2 weeks later, Mr. Aldridge called me, said my father had made a change, said I'd be the one responsible now, and I realized something I hadn't dared to believe until that moment. He had been watching. There were signs, always. Not just the big silences, but the subtle cuts. Like how my birthday dinner was always just the 4 of us, but Jason's came with balloons, 20 guests, and Dad's speech about legacy. I told myself I didn't care. I cared. When I got promoted at my old job, my mother said, "That's great, but when are you going to get married?" When Jason got dumped, she baked him a pie and said, "You're too good for her anyway." One of us had to earn love. The other just received it. Family gatherings. I was introduced as our daughter Vanessa. She's very independent. That pause between very and independent said everything. Jason was the entrepreneur even when unemployed. I was the one who works with numbers. I noticed how my father looked at Jason when he talked. Eyes soft, proud, even when Jason was clearly bluffing. He looked at me like I was a colleague, not a daughter. Respectful. Distant. Never warm. Jason loved to provoke me. Vanessa's gonna die alone with a Roth IRA, he once joked. The table roared. I smiled tightly. My mom said, he's just playing, don't be so sensitive. But I wasn't. I was just tired that I'd bring wine or dessert. To dinner. Jason brought stories. He forgot birthdays. I remembered everyone's. He missed 3 holidays. I never missed one. And still, he was the heart of the family. Once, my mom asked me not to talk about my business at lunch. It just makes Jason feel bad, she said. I nodded. She never asked Jason to tone down his ego to protect me, even the house felt like it belonged to him. His childhood room remained untouched. Mine was turned into a guest room after college. My trophies boxed away. His still lined the shelves, even the ones he didn't win. When I landed my first major investment account, I told my dad. He nodded. Be careful, he said. When Jason wanted to open a cafe with 0 experience, Dad gave him the down payment. Said, you'll figure it out. He didn't. The cafe closed in 4 months. The lawyer had always been around. Polite. Silent. But I noticed how he addressed Jason casually. Jason. With me, it was always, Miss Cole. I used to find that cold. Now, I understand, it was respect. The more I succeeded, the more they shrunk me. As if my competence made them uncomfortable. As if I had no right to want recognition without a smile attached. They didn't forget me, they refused to see me. The lunch wasn't even my idea. I almost didn't go. But Mr. Aldridge had confirmed he'd be present, and something in his tone told me it mattered. So I showed up. Hair pulled back. Neutral tones. Invisible, just how they liked me. Jason was already holding court when I arrived. Laughing loudly, surrounded by 2 of Dad's associates and 1 of Mom's cousins. Vanessa, he grinned, didn't know you still existed. The table chuckled. I sat down, stomach tightening like it always did around them. The small talk turned sharp quickly. Lorraine asked if I was still single by choice or circumstance. Jason joked that I was probably saving money by not having kids. Someone mentioned my father's estate, and Jason waved it off, saying, we all know who's getting the reins. My mother joined in. Jason has the personality for leadership. Vanessa's more, behind the scenes. A polite way of saying. Invisible. I looked at my father, but he just kept eating. As if none of it was cruel. As if I hadn't heard this my whole life. Jason leaned closer and whispered just loud enough, bet you still live in that tiny apartment. I didn't respond. My home was 3 times the size of his, but that didn't matter to them. Their truth was louder than my reality. That's when Mr. Aldridge stood. The air shifted. His presence was quiet but commanding. Miss Cole, he said, with full formality. Are you ready? I nodded. His eyes didn't leave mine. That nod felt heavier than anything I'd said in years. He opened the briefcase and placed the papers down. My mother's fork hit her plate. Jason blinked. Fast, still assuming this was some tax form or routine formality. Wait, what's going on? He asked again, voice louder now, unsure. This, Mr. Aldridge began, is the final restructuring of Mr. Cole's estate and business interests. As of this morning, the controlling shares, legal authority, and succession rights are granted entirely to Miss Vanessa Cole. He slid the papers across the table. Silence, then my mother's voice broke through. What? Like a warning. Like disbelief wrapped in outrage. Thomas, what is this? My father finally looked up, calm as ever. It's exactly what it sounds like, he said. Jason laughed, sharp and nervous. You've got to be kidding. She doesn't even know how to, Mr. Aldridge interrupted. She knows more than you think. She's been audited, evaluated, and tested. And she passed every metric. Quietly. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't break, because I wasn't shocked. I was prepared. Jason stood up, pacing, laughing nervously. Dad, come on. She can't run the estate. She's barely involved in anything. I looked at him, calm. I've been involved for years. You just never noticed. Like everything else about me. Lorraine's voice was shrill. This is absurd. What are people going to think? She wasn't worried about the family. She was worried about appearances. About explaining why the golden son was left out. About having to say my name with respect. I built my own business, I said. While you all were too busy mocking me to ask what I actually do. My father didn't interrupt. He didn't need to. The silence said enough. He had already made his decision. Jason leaned over the table. So that's it? You just get everything because you've been secretly cozying up to Dad. I looked him dead in the eye. No. I get everything because I earned it. While you burn through opportunity after opportunity. He scoffed, turned to our dad. You're really doing this? Thomas finally spoke, low and steady. I gave both of you chances. One of you delivered. The other blamed. Jason sat down slowly, face pale. He wasn't used to consequences. Only cushions. My mother turned to Mr. Aldridge. You can't be serious. He straightened his tie. Mrs. Cole, the documents are legally binding. Executed with full capacity and in accordance with your husband's wishes. Any interference will be considered contestation. She blinked. Once. Then again. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I stood, not to storm out, but to reclaim my place. This isn't revenge. It's just the truth catching up. No one responded. Jason avoided my eyes. My mother looked at her wine. My father nodded once, a silent acknowledgement. Too little, too late. Outside the restaurant, I breathed in. The air felt different. Lighter. Not because I had won, but because I had stopped losing by pretending they weren't hurting me. That weight was gone. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't wounded. But because this pain wasn't new. It was inherited, normalized, expected. And now, it was done. That night, I sat at home and looked over the documents again. Signed. Final. My name in bold letters. Not the daughter. Not Jason's sister. Just me. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt released. They built a house where I was never invited to sit. I bought the land it stood on. That night, I opened old journals. Pages full of questions I never asked out loud. Why didn't they see me? Why was love conditional? Why did it always feel like I was being tolerated, not loved? The ink had faded, but the pain hadn't. I remembered the first time Jason stole from me. I was 14. Saved money for a school trip. He took it and laughed. She'll earn it back, she always does. My parents didn't punish him. My mother said, he's a boy. Don't be so dramatic. Every injustice had been covered in softness, smiles, deflections. They didn't scream, they dismissed. Which, in many ways, hurt more. They made me doubt my memory. My worth. My right to feel betrayed. I went through emails. Past messages from my father. Sparse, professional, efficient. But 6 months ago, the tone changed. He asked detailed questions about investments. Asked for advice. He never said, I'm proud of you. But his trust said it for him. I found the evaluation report from Mr. Aldridge's firm. It was attached to the estate transfer documents. I wasn't supposed to have it, but I did. Page after page proving I had been tested. Strategically. Legally. Ethically. And I had surpassed expectations. There was a line in the report that broke me. Miss Cole demonstrates discretion, patience, and emotional control far beyond her peers. She is both overlooked and underestimated. Her strength is in how she endures, not how she performs. That line felt like someone had finally watched the movie of my life instead of skipping to the part where I smiled at family dinners. I remembered when Jason's business failed and Dad covered the losses. I helped quietly. Ran analysis on the financial fallout. Drafted the memo Dad used to shut it down cleanly. Jason never knew. I never told him. But Dad did. That's when the shift started. The discovery wasn't that I was capable. It was that they had known all along, and chosen not to say it, because my usefulness was more convenient than my recognition, because shrinking me kept the spotlight on them. That hurt more than any insult. They didn't fail to see my worth, they protected themselves from it. In the weeks that followed, the shift became public. Not through announcements or family gossip, but through signatures. My name began appearing where Jason's used to. Contracts. Accounts. Company documents. It wasn't revenge. It was reality. Catching up. I didn't change locks. I changed access. Jason's company card was deactivated. He called, furious. I forwarded him to Mr. Aldridge. The lawyer answered with the same tone he used at the restaurant, you'll need to schedule an appointment with Miss Cole. Lorraine showed up at my office unannounced. Demanded to speak with her daughter. I met her in the lobby. No smile. No hug. Just boundaries. She asked, why are you doing this to us? I answered, I'm not doing anything to you. I'm finally doing something for me. She cried. For the first time in years. But even her tears felt staged. Not for the pain of what they'd done, but for the inconvenience of no longer being in control. Jason tried to rally cousins. Claimed I manipulated Dad. Spread lies about how I tricked my way into the inheritance. But people had seen the truth now. And truth doesn't need to scream. At the quarterly shareholder meeting of my father's company, I walked in as the new majority stakeholder. Jason wasn't invited. My father sat beside me. He didn't say much. But before the meeting started, he leaned in and whispered, "Don't forget who you are." I didn't. For the first time, I was being seen not as someone's daughter, or someone's sister, but as the woman who earned it. Who waited without bitterness. Who stood without needing applause. The lawyer sent out a family-wide update. All estate communications would now go through Vanessa Cole. Not Mississippi, not the daughter. Just Vanessa. I didn't make a speech. I didn't issue warnings. I simply showed up where I was once erased, and they noticed. They had no choice. I didn't celebrate with champagne. I sat in my apartment with a warm bowl of soup and quiet music. Not because I was sad, but because peace no longer felt foreign. I didn't have to prove anything anymore. And that was the victory. Emails came. Some polite. Some apologetic. Jason sent one that just said, "We need to talk." I never replied. Let him sit in the silence I once drowned in. Lorraine sent a birthday card that arrived 2 weeks late. I didn't open it. My home changed. I replaced the framed degrees and business articles with photos I took on solo trips. Mountains. Oceans. Moments where I felt proud without needing an audience. The living room was mine. Every corner a reflection of someone finally seen, by herself. The lawyer invited me for coffee months later. Said quietly, "He always respected you, you know. Just didn't know how to say it." I nodded. I know. But saying nothing still leaves scars. He didn't argue. I started mentoring younger women. Quiet ones. Overlooked ones. The girls who don't raise their hands because they were taught not to take up space. I see them. I remind them that silence doesn't mean absence, and stillness isn't weakness. I didn't fix the family. That's not my role anymore. I released the idea that they'd ever become who I needed them to be. That grief was real, but so was the relief that followed. The next holiday dinner, I was invited. I declined. Sent a gift basket instead. No note. Just my company's logo. Just a quiet reminder, I'm not angry. I'm unavailable. Jason eventually tried to start another business. He applied for funding. One of the partner firms emailed me for a character reference. I replied truthfully. Not cruelly. Just factually. That was enough. My father passed a few years later. His will remained as he left it. I handled it professionally. Spoke at the memorial. Short. Clear. He taught me to be precise. And now I live by it. That was all. That was enough. Now, when I walk into rooms, people listen. Not because I'm loud. But because I stopped apologizing for existing. They used to speak over me, now they ask for my permission.